Hey house guests, welcome to today's Big Brother 18 updates and spoilers. Our house guest of the day is Jeanette Howard. Thank you so much for your support on Patreon. You're awesome. And if you guys want to be house guest of the day, check out our Patreon link in the info box below. And there are other awesome rewards too, like seeing the puppet shows early and like Q&A videos and stuff and like live chat, so check it out. Alright, so a quick recap on last night's live eviction episode. Victor was evicted. He was evicted by a vote of 9-1. Thanks for the sympathy vote, Paul. And Bridget, aka Frank, won HOH. I mean, let's be real though. Bridget, she's gonna do whatever Frank wants. So pretty much everyone except for Frank and the Spy Girls were like really freaked out about Bridget winning because nobody expected it. They don't know what she's gonna do. A lot of the 8-pack haven't really even talk that much with Bridget, so they feel like really uneasy about it. And in addition to that, Frank is on her team, so he is safe for the week. He cannot be put up even as the roadkill nominee, and that's who they were planning on going after this week. Alright, so after all of that scheming last week, it's gone out the window. So Paulie, Zakiya, and Nicole were all talking about what Bridget could potentially do this week, and Paulie's like, man, it really sucks that we can't go after Frank, but as long as we keep the 5 intact this week, it'll be all good. So that means himself, Zakiya, Davon, Nicole, and Corey. So that's like his big concern this week, is keeping the 5 of them safe. So he's like, we might just have to get rid of Tiffany this week because everybody knows that Frank wants Tiffany out pronto. So they're like, you know what, we might just have to go with that this week. And he's like, you know, it wouldn't be the worst thing in the world for us anyway, so we'll get through it. So then Frank joins them, and he's like, yeah, guys, I'm going to push for Tiffany to go up on the block. No shit. So then another plan this week was to potentially get rid of Bronte, but Frank is saying it's not likely that he's going to be able to get Bridget to nominate Bronte, but he's thinking maybe he can get Paul up on the block next to Tiffany. So they're all like, yeah, sounds good, sounds good. And then they're all talking about how if one of them wins the roadkill competition, they can still nominate Bronte anyway. Alright, so then Bridget and Frank were chatting in the London bedroom, and Frank is like, so what do you want to do this week? Isn't that cute that he's pretending that it's her decision? So Bridget's like, well, Team Unicorn, James's team, is pretty much off limits this week. She wants to attack either Team Freakazoid or Team Big Sister. So she's thinking some potential nominees. Maybe I'll throw up Nicole and Corey. Maybe I'll throw up Tiffany and Corey. She hasn't really talked to any of them that much, and she feels like weird about it. So Frank is like, well, I'd love to see Tiffany up on that block. Really? And he's telling her like, yeah, it'd be really easy to get rid of Tiffany this week and nobody will be upset with you, nobody will come after you for it. Ouch. And then Frank is like, yeah, and then you could just put Paul up next to Tiffany, and like if we can't get rid of her, it wouldn't be the end of the world to get rid of Paul either. So he's definitely trying to steer her away from Corey and Nicole. He's like, no, like Nicole's not after you, and Corey's a really cool dude, whatever, we like bro down all the time. So he gets them in the clear. So then Paulie joins them. They let him in on the plan to potentially put up Paul and Tiffany, and he's just like, yeah, sounds good. So Bridget's like kind of nervous about putting Paul up on the block because it is his 3rd week in a row, and I don't know, she feels bad or something. And they're like, no, it's going to be fine. Like, he's a cool dude. He'll be all right with it. They also say that they're going to talk to Paul with her before the nomination ceremony to really, like, smooth things over. All right, so then we've got Paulie reporting back to Nicole, Tiffany, Corey, and Michelle in the safari room. And Paulie's like, we need to keep in mind that whatever Bridget does this week is Frank's decision. So, like, if we get screwed over, it's Frank's fault. So Paulie also goes ahead and warns Tiffany to prepare herself for the worst this week. He's like, you're probably going up on the block, so yeah. So then he's like, we have to win the roadkill this week so we can put up Bronte or Natalie. And then Nicole chimes in that she's upset because Frank told her that Bridget was throwing around her name and Corey's name as possible nominees this week. So you know how Nicole gets whenever there's any chance of her going up on the block, and she's just like, I don't want to go up on the block. Just like that. Alright, so then Nicole, Zakiya, and Michelle were chatting, and Zakiya is pissed. She is not happy that Paulie warned Tiffany that she's probably going up on the block. She's just like, is there something going on with these two, or what? Like, why are you warning her like that? What's the deal with that? Like, that could put us in danger. Yeah, I'm pretty sure there's something going on there. Do you really think there wouldn't be? They're both siblings of former house guests. Of course they're going to have some sort of deal together. But they're nervous that Tiffany could blow up their games trying to stay off of the block. Like, what if she makes some sort of deal with Bridget? Or what if she just, like, feels all this pressure and starts exposing things like the Fatal Five alliance? So Michelle and Zakiya are like, if that happens, we just have to deny. And then they were also talking about how they need to keep Tiffany and Bridget apart all night so that they don't have a chance to talk and Tiffany doesn't have a chance to blow it for them. So then Frank, James, and Natalie were talking in the have-not room, and Frank is like, yeah, I can't believe Tiffany's going around to everybody saying that she wants me out, and like, I'm safe this week, what's she thinking? So then Frank is like, yeah, after Tiffany goes up on the block tomorrow, I'm gonna say some stuff to her that's gonna like frazzle her, it's gonna freak her out before the roadkill competition and before the POV so that she can't win. Alright, so then Natalie leaves and Frank starts talking about scenarios, all the different things that could happen this week. So they're like, what are we going to do if Tiffany wins the power of veto? Like, who's going to be the target then? What do we do? So Frank is like, well, do you think like Corey could possibly be an option? Should we go after Corey if Tiffany is safe? So James is like, well, it would help us get Nicole back, right? So he's like, but will we have the votes to do that? So then James is saying like, oh, Bronte and Natalie are really easy to sway. It could be good to have them around. We could get them to like vote the way that we want. And Frank is like, yeah, but if you look at potential targets, Corey, it seems like is definitely going to go after the non-8-packers before he attacks anyone inside the 8-pack alliance, so he says. So then they're like, yeah, it might be better to take out Bronte this week if we can't get Tiffany. So then, this is fun, guys. Tiffany and Michelle were trying to listen into this conversation on the other side of the wall. They were all like cup against the wall, but I don't think they were really getting anything from it. So then Paul was chatting with the Spy Girls, and they were just like, wow, like, what was up with that one vote against Bronte this week? What do you know about that, Paul? So Paul denies being the vote to evict Bronte. I feel like it's so obvious, but they're just like, okay. So then he's like, yeah, I explained it to Victor in my goodbye message, like, he'll understand, it's all good. Alright, so then it's time for Bridget to get her HOH room. She got a letter from her mom and all of her pictures. The house guests were not really thrilled with her treats. She got like tofu and seaweed and okra, and they were just like, no. Alright, so now that that's over, things got really crazy last night, guys. So after the HOH room reveal, James was talking to Nicole and Corey, and he fills them in on his conversation with Frank from the have-not room, and he's like, guess what? Frank is considering having Bridget put up Corey as a potential replacement nominee if Tiffany wins the power of veto. Oh shit, they were pissed. They're like, whoa, this is serious. Frank is coming for us right now, and we can't even go after him this week. That sucks. So then, speaking of Frank, Day was venting about him to Zakiya, Nicole, and Michelle because she's really tired of the way that he's been treating her and the other women in the house. Apparently, I didn't see this on the feeds, I think it was off feeds, but apparently he told her last night, shut your damn mouth, woman, and she was not happy about that. I wouldn't be either. She's tired of him slapping her butt and just being a jerk in general, and, you know, all the comments. Apparently he also called her a slut, and like, what? Okay, so then she's like trying not to flip out on him because she doesn't want to mess up her game. She knows from last season she can't be like popping off on people, so she's trying to hold it all in. They're just like, it's okay, it's gonna be okay. So we're gonna come back to that because there's more. But But first, hashtag but first, Tiffany was chatting with Bridget up in the HOH room. She gets a few minutes alone with her, and she's like, well, I would offer you a deal for my safety, but I'm not my sister. Did I happen to mention I'm not Vanessa? Yeah. So then she tells Bridget, like, I've never been after you before. You're not a target for me. And then she brings up a potential all-girl alliance, including all 8 girls. And she's like, Bridget, you could be the glue between the two sides. Like, this could be really great. Come on. You know Bridget told Frank everything from this conversation. She did. Okay. So then a little while later... This was bad, guys. Frank, this was off camera, but you could hear the audio from this. Frank slaps Day's butt again. And she's like, Frank, stop doing that! She yells at him, and then she walks away. She's starting to cry. So Polly and Corey go to comfort her, and Frank comes in, he's like, Day, what's going on? I'm sorry. Yeah, she's really freaking pissed. So she goes to the diary room and she like formally complains about it. Like, I mean, it's ridiculous and it's getting bad. I guess she didn't say to his face before, like, that's not okay, but like this should not be happening anyway. She shouldn't have to tell him that. But yeah, she definitely complained in the diary room. So then a little while later, Polly pulls Frank aside and he's just like, dude, you gotta stop doing stuff like that. It's making people uncomfortable. And Frank is just like, well, I don't get what the big deal is. Like, I'm just joking. I do that with people I'm comfortable with. Like, I do that with my Nana and my mom all the time. And like, and Polly's just like, no, Day doesn't like it. She's got a daughter at home. She doesn't want her daughter seeing that crap fly on TV. So like, you need to cut it out. And Frank's like, all right, like, I'm going to apologize to her in the morning. So apparently he did apologize this morning, but I think it was when the feeds were off, so we didn't get to see it, but I don't think it went over so well. I think it's still really, like, between Davon and Frank, but we'll see. So, all right. This morning, no, last night, Frank ended up sleeping in the HOH room with Bridget. I thought Bridget was all like, I don't sleep in the same bed as a boy because I have a boyfriend. Alright, so this morning, they had the nomination ceremony, and Bridget, as planned, nominated Tiffany and Paul. So then Bronte and Bridget were chatting, and they're talking about the whole Frank butt-slapping drama from the night before. And Bronte's like, yeah, Frank's upsetting a lot of people, and it looks like he's going to be a target next week. Bronte, girl, you are with it. You need to get your S together, though, so you could actually make something happen here. So then Bridget and Paul were chatting, and she tells him, like, dude, you're not the target this week. We're all good. I just don't want Tiffany to win the power veto. So, like, you go out there, you win it. That's great. But Tiffany cannot win. So then they had the roadkill competition today, and Frank ended up winning. And then he nominated Bronte. Yeah. So we'll be talking about all the stuff in between Frank's win and the actual nomination tomorrow, but I just wanted to get that in there. It's a lot. So now we've got Bronte, Tiffany, and Paul up on the block. So let me know what you guys think in the comments. What's going to happen? Who are you rooting for in the power veto? And until tomorrow, much love.